Hello, Georgia fans, Dog Nation at large. We are back for a major rivalry week against the Florida Gators. Doesn't matter the record, doesn't matter the coach. When you see that blue and orange, something just turns your stomach. Well, at least that's just me. Anyway, I'm Keegan. My co-host is Chito, and we're back for another episode of Dogs Off the Leash.
I do it for the dogs. I do it for my dogs. Who you do it for? 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 I do it for the dogs. I do it for my dogs.
Hey, it's about to be Gator boots and Gucci suits all weekend long. Going into Halloween weekend, it's kind of going to be one of those types of games, Keegan, right? We're going to get a Freaky Friday with this podcast and the articles that are going to come out. But with the Billy Napier firing, there's a lot of uncertainty. Florida is the definition of a wild card right now. How do you think that this uncertainty is going to affect this game in Jacksonville, on the field, the matchups? What are we looking at? What can we expect from Florida?
I'll just say it's been a second. We took a little breather. We enjoyed our bye week, but some coaches have gotten fired, and it's not just Billy Napier that got canned. We got James Franklin. We got Brian Kelly. So I just see that a lot of teams are willing to move fast right now because year to year we're seeing more turnover in the sense of a team can go from bad to good very quickly. We've seen it at Indiana, Syracuse,
Vanderbilt.
Vandy.
Yeah.
So there's just a new reality that you can go from a stinker to a winner in just a year if you got some of the right bolts and bones. So one thing I think Billy Napier did really well is recruit and build this Florida team and a culture. So it makes sense that Florida has canned their coach. But to your question, Chito, just about what's going to influence or impact the game, I think that Billy Gonzalez, I know in the last pod you said you liked kind of what he's made of. I think he brings more of a CEO type of thinker and head coach to this organization. And I think there's still plenty of room for hands-on coaching at all levels of coaching, but in this modern era, since it's more like the pros and since the SEC is more like the NFL than ever, I think having the more CEO manager type of head coach makes more sense. I think that's kind of what Billy Gonzalez brings to this game. So with that, if you were Billy Gonzalez, Chito, let me ask you that. What would you change or what would you bring into effect with a kind of manager CEO style, given that I think we both could agree that Florida is a formidable opponent, and like you said, they're a wild card. That means that they could pull an upset. So what would you do, playing kind of like devil's advocate? What would you do if you were Billy Gonzalez entering this situation?
Well, let me start by saying Brian Kelly and a lot of these coaches that are getting fired with these buyouts these days, that's not a bad way to live. Getting paid $54 million to not coach a football team, I might have to change up the resume here a little bit and start considering other lines of work. So, yeah, good on him. LSU kind of going through some things. It's funny, Brian Kelly went from Notre Dame to LSU because he wanted resources to win a championship, and Notre Dame has gotten closer to a championship since he left, and LSU's gotten farther away. So, for what that's worth. But yeah, so for the people that think it's really easy because we hate Florida to look at their record, to look at this schedule, and to just generally not like Florida, and to think that we're going to go to Jacksonville and walk all over them because of that fact. And that is a big, big mistake because, like you said, Billy Napier did well in recruiting. This is a very talented roster. The only thing that's been in Florida's way is themselves and their incompetencies and that tough schedule. That's a hard schedule for anyone to play. But Billy Gonzalez, if you'll take a second and go check out one of his pressers over the past couple of weeks, this is a guy who knows what it takes to win, right? He's very familiar within the Florida program. He's been with several of the head coaches since he's been there. He was the wide receiver coach under Urban Meyer from 05 to 09, and then he was the co-offensive coordinator under Dan Mullen from 18 to 21. So this guy knows what he's looking for, right? He's familiar with the offense. So what I'm expecting is that this offense continues to play how it's been. Now that's good and bad, right? They have some weapons. They have some people that are injured, but wide receiver Dallas Wilson, DJ Lagway, these are really talented players. A good offensive line, a good running back. It's just they've been making a lot of mistakes. I think it's going to take more than one bye week for Gonzalez to clean up all of their deficiencies, the penalties, blown assignments, all of these things. So again, it's one thing to be a talented team. It's another thing entirely to be a good football team, which Florida just isn't right now. But that is not to say that they can't beat a good team. I called them to beat Texas. They put it together one game, and they beat Texas. Other games, the quarterback's throwing 5 interceptions. They're doing dumb stuff on the field. So it's a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde type of situation to play into that Halloween theme. So it kind of scares me that Florida's a wild card, especially in a rivalry, especially in the NIL era, to where you cannot take games for granted. And that really is going to go for Georgia when it comes to Florida, when it comes to Texas, and when it comes to Mississippi State. Georgia's better than all 3 of these teams, but we have to handle our business in order to get a win for the next 3 weeks to decide our fate in the SEC and probably playoff positioning overall.
Yeah, it's hard to not see a world where this game comes down to DJ Lagway's performance. And really, even when Billy Napier was doing bad 2 years ago, it was a little bit of a silver lining for this whole Florida program that they had DJ Lagway coming in just a couple of years ago when Billy Napier's seat started to warm up, right? It was like, oh, well, they got this top-end quarterback coming, consensus top 3 guys. And, you know, he's 6'3", 240. We all have seen how he can move. We've seen him chuck the ball down the field. He's got that pure athletic kind of Anthony Richardson vibes. So, dude is uber talented, but he's struggled and been inconsistent this season. So, they need their best player to play well. And that means the offense has got to simplify what they're doing. And I think a big part of that, and in the presser, Billy Gonzalez touched on it, is that they have streamlined the process of the play calling and how there will be more communication directly to DJ Lagway with like simple checks. So I think that's a pretty good recipe to, you know, kind of unleash what DJ Lagway could be. It's going to be a lot of a pre-snap chess match with how Georgia and Kirby and Glenn Schumann decide to call the defense in the way that they disguise pressure and the way that they disguise coverage. Basically, they need to confuse DJ Lagway, essentially. Because if Florida is going to try to simplify their offense and have DJ only play into a couple of quick reads, let's say he's looking at a quick read and he thinks it's man, but then we shift kind of last minute to more of a zone coverage. Or let's say, you know, we bluff on a blitz and then we drop back into coverage. Or vice versa, we blitz a little late. All these little subtle moves in and out of the defensive calls are the type of things that can disrupt DJ Lagway's thinking and make the overall, what I predict to be their strategy is just simplify the offense. It's like any guy that gets hired as an interim coach is going to basically say the same thing. It's like, we just need to do better what we do well. And if they're going to do better what they do well, which is run the offense through DJ Lagway, they're going to need to simplify it, and I think we're going to need to confuse him. So one thing Georgia does really well is rotate their safeties. So if you're a quarterback and you're trying to cue up what the defense is doing, in every other play, you got your safety cue is moved or it's a different player. It makes it incredibly hard to keep up with what Georgia's defense is doing. So that's something we've done really well, but I just think that's going to be one of the major keys of the game is just the pre-snap chess match and how we can confuse simplifications that Florida is probably going to try to pull on us.
Yeah, I actually listed that as one of my keys as well. I think DJ Lagway has shown enough tape now. We know he's got all the physical attributes. He's got the arm talent. He's hard to tackle, hard to bring down in the open field. He's quick in the pocket, but you can disguise looks and really throw him off. And I think throwing off the timing of this offense is going to do wonders for the defense, right? And we've talked about this secondary several times this season because the offense for Georgia has been one of the most efficient units in the country. The defense has been less so. It's been a lot of bending, but not breaking, but still a lot of bending going on. But whether it's Dalen Everett, DeMello Jones, Daniel Harris, or Ellis Robinson, I need the two best corners out there limiting explosive plays because Florida is going to take shots. They have to. They have nothing else to lose. They're going to take shots downfield knowing that that's where Georgia's the weakest. They can't run against us. They're not good at it anyways, and that's where our defense is strong. So the DBs, especially the four that I mentioned, are going to have a good day. I think it's less so on the safeties, being that, they're playing kind of a linebacker-ish position, kind of overseeing things, but that one-on-one coverage is going to be huge for us. So if we can win more of those reps than Florida can, I think we're going to be in a good way. That's going to be one of the major matchups that I'm going to be looking for as well.
So, Chito, let me ask you this. We know DJ Lagway has this crazy athletic potential, and he's the type of guy that can eat us alive. So, what would you be doing to help limit design QB runs and then the off-schedule runs with DJ Lagway? Is it as simple as just QB spy? Because I know that's my first gut instinct, or what do we need to do there?
Yeah, I don't know about dedicating a spy to him because he's not just looking just to take off all the time. I think with your defensive line, you want a good push or good rush up, but you don't want to get too far upfield so he slips underneath you, right? Defensive line, you tell them to contain. And then you're sending a Chris Cole type of player to just disrupt him, right? But the thing is, if you get too far upfield, he's going to slip underneath you and take off. So when you get in the backfield, you sink your hips, start trying to make plays at the ball, start trying to rip it out of his hands, neutralize him that way. He's going to make plays. Being too aggressive against a player like that is almost counterproductive. So again, I'm doing a good, what do they call it? A muddle rush or something like that, right?
A mush rush.
Mush rush, excuse me. Contain and then have a player like Chris Cole giving pressure, especially on obvious passing situations, 3rd and 7 or longer. I think that's the simple recipe. And then on the back end, you play good coverage, disguise it. Make sure your corners are staying home. When the ball's in the air, our corners have to play the ball, have to make plays on the ball and not panic when the ball's in the air.
Yeah, I think just adding a couple of guys in the box and maybe just having 4 guys up front or 5 dudes even instead of just 3 down rushers in those 3rd and long situations kind of helps contain Lagway. And I think 3rd and long is everything because I know Kirby said DJ Lagway processes things pretty well, but to me, anybody who's throwing 5 interceptions in any game, let alone how DJ Lagway has done this season, I think 3rd and long has got to be Georgia's bread and butter because the further away you get, unless it's just going to be screen, check down, it's a lot more to process. There's way more variables, and not only that, you have to deal with the defensive rush. And, DJ Lagway is one of the better ones in the SEC of getting the ball out, so he doesn't take as many sacks, but especially not as he did last year. But we all remember, Florida deserves a lot of credit, dude, because last year, before DJ Lagway got injured, it was looking like Florida's ball game.
You don't have to want to admit it as a Georgia fan, but if you're watching that game, they had momentum. And momentum's another huge thing that's going to happen in this game. And for the DJ Lagway apologists out there, he's thrown about 1,500 yards so far this year, 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and has the 81st overall QBR. So he is struggling with his processing a little bit. So it's going to be incumbent on Georgia to make that even more difficult, especially at a neutral site.
Well, let me ask you this. If we're trying to control the clock and maybe just be the more physical team, because Billy Napier has been that guy. As far as a physicality standpoint, he's one of the better coaches of bringing that to a culture. I can maybe only think of Mark Stoops as another guy who's definitely done that, has just made the culture of any team he's been a part of just a more physical team. So, what can we do on offense to kind of lead the charge with more physicality?
Whatever Bobo's been doing for the past couple weeks, don't change a thing. This offense has been so efficient, and this is not a scenario to where we need to hold possession because Florida's got this high octane offense and keep them off the field. That's not what we're getting into. Georgia just needs to continue to be efficient, convert 3rd downs, and score in red zone opportunities. Almost every red zone opportunity that you get, we need to go score. So I'm not changing a lot. The only thing I'm looking to see And again, my 2 players to watch offensively, Chauncey Bowens. Most people understand or remember the storyline to where Chauncey was committed to Florida, came on an official visit to Georgia and flipped mid-visit. So that's a video that's going around Dog Nation right now. And then unfortunately it had to happen like this, but now Noah Thomas is going to get featured. No one wanted to see Kobe Young go down. He's been a DGD in every sense of the word. Had another opportunity to come back to Georgia after the snafu last year, senior season. Hope that he gets well. But now we get to see what a 6'5", 205-pound wide receiver with speed, agility, great hands looks like in this Georgia offense that, to be frank, is absolutely humming right now. So I'm super excited. But if you're Bobo, don't change a thing. Just be mindful of the linebackers they have over there, because those guys are really the difference makers on that Florida defense.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Colby Young did especially well, and it makes sense given his big body and frame, but was run blocking, right?
Yeah, that's huge. Noah has to be able to do that, or willing to do that, to be successful.
And if he can't, and if he isn't the guy for those said situations where we need a couple of extra pushes down to every last man, including the wide receiver, then I think that is a perfect opportunity to involve the depth of talent we have in the tight end room.
Yeah, double tight end. Nice call. I like it.
Yeah, it's like something Colby did well is like some of the best plays were those short screens to him, actually, where he's actually like a big body runner, almost kind of like, not, Alabama and Caden Proctor is one thing, but it makes actually more sense, not just in a funny kind of trick play way, to have a big body screen feller out there such as Colby Young, and he did an excellent job at that. So I think maybe we see Elias Williams, maybe we see Jaden Riddell, maybe Lawson Lucky goes off again. Like, we got to, and of course Oscar Delp, but I literally am naming every tight end because, hey, they could be relevant. We know they can pass block, and we got to get them more involved as the season goes on. So I think Colby Young's absence provides an opportunity for that. Maybe we see that. I was doing a deep dive, dude, on just our statistics thus far in the season, and I'm not as big of a stats nerd as you are potentially, but as a gamer and as someone who plays NCAA, all the time I'm thinking, literally, like, it'll be the third quarter, and I'm thinking, I only got 80 rushing yards with Chauncey Bowens. Like, it would be nice if I had an even 100. That would look good on the stat sheet. Or maybe I'm making a push for Heisman in my dynasty mode or whatever. But just forget about me and the gamer. These other players, and I know I actually logged this stuff when I played football. We all kind of want individual stats and individual glory. A little bit, even if you're in Georgia and fully bought in on the culture of being a team player and all that, it's hard to argue you don't want a little bit of individual glory. So with that as my preface, I had done a deep dive on our statistics. And the only thing I'll say throughout this season is we've done very well. Probably we're very close to beating Bama and being undefeated right now. But if I had to raise one red flag, dude, it is what I found on this deep dive. So let me start off with a few things, and I'll address each one as what I'd like to see as an outcome rather than just listing statistics I don't like, because there are some I do like. So let's start with this. As a prerogative, as an action item, we need to see Gunnar Stockton throw deeper down the field. Chito, where do you think Gunnar ranks currently in the SEC? This is all SEC statistics. Where do you think he ranks right now in just long pass? Your single long is what it's listed as. It's not the end-all be-all because sometimes it's going to be based on luck. But where do you think Gunnar ranks in long pass?
Probably the back half of the SEC. I actually saw a graphic that was like yards leaders of quarterbacks, and Gunnar was not on there. So we're more efficient than we are volume, I guess, or depth. So I'm guessing in the back half.
It's actually, once I get done with this, we'll actually probably be more impressed with this team. It's actually worse than back half. He's actually 18th in the SEC in long pass, meaning that the 16 starters are ahead of him and a couple of people
backups.
And a couple of backups
That's
that came in
wild.
for trick plays. So he's actually 18th. So, he's 9th in average, right?
Okay.
So that paints a more clear picture. He's 7.8 on average, only a little bit ahead of DJ Lagway. These statistics are not the end-all be-all. Georgia's winning, but it is a red flag that we have a starting quarterback, supposedly a Heisman candidate, that's looking, at least on paper, unable to break into at least the top 7 in the SEC with deeper passes.
Okay, so if I could ask a question, do you think it's more that he's unable to do it, or this offensive coordinator doesn't favor that style?
I don't know. I've seen more deep passes with other quarterbacks in the Bobo system. So I think there's two things happening. I think we've seen a lot of tape where Gunnar has been hesitant to throw the deep ball. So one thing is his own trepidation, because even the coaches have said he's had opportunities. So while Bobo can call it some, I think Gunnar's comfort and his maturation in this offense will lead to deeper passes. At least that's the hope, and I think it's a realistic piece of optimism I got there, but I want to see that. So I'll say this, though, on the positive of statistics, and I'll just kind of run through these. Please chime in. He's the 4th least sacked in the SEC. So while he's not throwing it down the field, he's hyper efficient, and he's the 4th least sacked. Someone like Arch Manning is the 4th most sacked, arguably as agile and mobile, has feet, has legs, but that's an awareness thing. So credit to Gunnar for not going down, because we've seen him run for his life at times. He's done a really good job of escaping the pocket.
And that was one of the things I wanted him to work on the most in the offseason, was that pocket presence, because we saw how that Notre Dame game went. So good stat there.
Yeah, so that is a huge thing for his growth, and that's really helping him carry the team. And the more I go on these, the more it'll look like Gunnar's carrying us. He's actually the 3rd least intercepted in the SEC, with only 1 interception. People have thrown like 2 passes are ahead of him. Technically, they have 31 guys listed at 0, which is a weird thing. But as far as starters, he's the 3rd least intercepted in the SEC. And the other major statistic that Gunnar ranks high in is he is 4th overall in rushing touchdowns. This is the statistic that has helped save Georgia's season.
Yeah.
That's helped us save our season, because the red flag doesn't necessarily come with Gunnar. There are some concerning things. We need to throw it deeper down the field. But the problem I have, Chito, is the guy you so rightfully are hopeful to see do well against his former team he was committed to, Chauncey Bowens. He's only 20th in the SEC in rushing overall. And right behind him is number 22, Nate Frazier, in the SEC. So our 2 best backs really don't even break underneath the top 20. We're in the 20s there. And that's good to have 2 backs that are neck and neck, but we got to run the ball more effectively. Statistics aren't everything. Like, we're having a pretty good season, but it's a little bit concerning when you look at some of these things. And the other thing I'll say is Zachariah Branch, arguably our most deadly receiver, if you will, 25th in receiving overall. I don't like that.
I know on that, because stats say something, but rarely do they tell the whole story. The context is always really important. So for Gunnar, the deep ball, yes, there may be some trepidation there, but also you love a quarterback that doesn't put the ball in harm's way, right? The rushing touchdowns are elite. They have literally saved our season. With the running back position, I gave up on sexy running back stats the second that Kirby got here. It has always been a committee since Kirby got here. Thunder and Lightning, Nick Chubb and Sony. There's always a 2-headed monster. And you have to think now, Cash Jones is still getting some reps every now and then to the behest of the fan base. And then you've got Josh McCray, who eats up goal line carries, right? So you're not going to have sexy stats as a running back at Georgia these days, the way it used to be, the Todd Gurley days. It's just not like that anymore. But you will be fresh. You will make it through an entire season. And then when you get to the NFL, you start playing like James Cook. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean that our running backs are bad. It doesn't mean that Zachariah Branch is bad. With our wide receiver core is probably one of the best that we've had since the national championship years, right? It just means that we're deep. We will exploit a defense by any means necessary versus like having a number 1 guy or an RB1 or whatever. That's just how Kirby decided to play football here at Georgia. And to be fair, it's not sexy. Sports Center hates Georgia, but championships and trophies love Georgia. So I'll take it.
Would you trade with Mississippi State and have more players in some of these categories than Georgia?
That's
and
right.
have
That's
their
a
season.
rhetorical question. That's
Right.
what I'm saying. That's
Right.
the spot
So,
on. Spot on.
I think that's a great point. All those thoughts came to my mind also, but it is a little bit concerning that we don't have guys in the top 20, top 30. When you go to like pass defense, if it weren't for Dalen Everett, we wouldn't even have a player in the top 50 in the SEC. So literally our saving grace on defense is CJ Allen. He's ranking third in tackles, but I think it does speak to, like you said, our depth, our committee of play. All that said, meanwhile, while that's happening, Xavier Story, Damon Wilson, and Anthony Evans are all in several different top 10 statistical categories. So we have lost some talent that is contributing at a high level.
Absolutely.
Granted, just like you said, it does not tell the full picture, but to put a bow on it, individual glory still matters. Even at a place like Georgia, it matters. People want touches. They want the ball. They don't want a stat line that reads team player. I'm sorry. So while we have a lot of the guys that have the psychology to buy in, and that is great, I think I want to see some guys get some stats. So, Chito, I'll just ask you, on the note of stats, which guys can get some statistics this game, but do you think would help our season elevate to the goal we want to if they do have a stat line that reads positive? Like, who are some players on your radar that immediately we got to have make some of these lists?
Chris Cole. I keep saying that name. Listen, it's frustrating because I know this guy's like a round one NFL draft pick type talent. I know it. He needs to be playing outside backer, edge rusher, whatever you want to call it, full time. He needs to be the Jalen Walker of this team. Georgia struggles with another stat that you didn't go over, struggles in getting sacks on opposing teams, right? We have not been able to generate a pass rush. A lot of it because of some of those players you named, mainly Damon Wilson, are gone, right? They were supposed to be big contributors. We need somebody who is capable of disrupting an opposing team's quarterback like Chris Cole can on a consistent basis. I need him for the latter half of this season to be the most disruptive player for the University of Georgia. It's that simple, man. We get him going, it's a wrap, because then it takes pressure off our secondary, which is struggle. Then it takes pressure off of our interior pressure, which has been non-existent. So Chris Cole's a name that comes off the top of my head, first name.
Yeah, I think for defense, that's exactly it. Disrupt the offense more, and who better to do that than a freaking freak of nature like Chris Cole. I'm with you. I think we need to see some more internal pressures too. Like, I think that also is a big deal, is just being able to have that random second down QB hurry. You know, it doesn't always need to be third and long. Right?
Yeah. I mean, when everybody's expecting it, exactly.
Let's not wait. Let's not wait for that. But on the other side, I think someone who should continue to get stats is Dylan Bell, because what does he do when he's given opportunity but succeed? Like, this guy has had moments in the sun where he just takes over. He's been a clutch player. We saw him make a great catch against, I think it was maybe Ole Miss game.
Yeah, that one-hander. Oh, yeah.
You know,
he's had a resurgent year as far as his standards go, for sure.
I think he's just got to be a piece of our offense, because he's such a wild hair that you can't really pin down what we're trying to do with him. And then because the defense is keyed in with him, now you can fake the jet sweep. Yeah, exactly. So I like that. And then, obviously, I've been hammering on it over and over. You mentioned Chauncey Bowens, who I have written down here. But Lawson Lucky did have a 3-touchdown day. Now, we know that Gunnar Stockton overthrew Oscar Delp, so there's something there. But Oscar and Lawson have to be the 1-2 punch. We can run more 12 personnel, and I need both of those guys getting more pass catches, because I think it does play a little bit of a factor into retention psychologically. If you're a player sitting on the bench and you've got no looks, like just a couple of plays here and there, that really does make a difference. And just a few highlights from the season can be the difference to, like, I'm wanted here, I'm a piece of the action, to I don't really see what I'm doing here, maybe I'll never see the field. Like, I think a little of that has to be into play. My interpretation of a coach, like, who's the guy at USC? Lincoln Riley. Like, he's like Mr. Give his players stats. Okay. I wouldn't want to be in USC's situation. I would not rather have a Lincoln Riley type coach or over a Kirby Smart. But Kirby's done so well of adapting. But and I'm probably not helping matters by bringing attention to this, but as soon as the word gets out that you don't get stats at Georgia, that is going to hurt us in recruiting. So
but
please
I think
let's get these
both
boys
things
some
can
stats.
be true, right? We can win. Georgia's not going to be less successful by getting the ball to its best players. You know what I mean? Like they're
Right.
Everybody may not get what they want to, but Zachariah Branch can eat. Noah Thomas can eat. Our tight ends can eat. Our running backs can get opportunities. You can throw a running back screen if you want to. You don't have to just throw wide receiver screens. So, like, we have options. And to Bobo's credit, I talked about this 2 weeks ago. He has started to incorporate all of that. More Dylan Bell. More fakes off of his go-to stuff. Fakes off of the toss sweep, off the jet sweep, off the bubble screen. London Humphreys. Everybody's not going to get to eat week to week, but we can have fun and score a lot of points and win football games. I've seen Bobo do it before. Long time ago, but I've seen it. And if we can continue that, we're going to put ourselves in a position to get some hardware come the end of 2025, I'm telling you.
Dude, and nothing helps recruiting like winning. So that probably is our silver lining, our saving grace here. But if we're just looking at the stats so far, it has looked like just on the paper of it, and sometimes in reality, that Gunnar Stockton has been our hero. And this we're campus legend mode right now, and Gunnar, we're trying to go for the Heisman. Like if I'm Gunnar Stockton and I'm controlling my own player in a campus legend, all this would make sense. But Georgia is not. We don't have a star quarterback with a no-name team. We got a really great potential star quarterback. I think he's a star in my eyes. He's been a star thus far, but the rest of the season shouldn't look like the stats necessarily have looked this far. We just need a little bit more from our team. So kudos to Gunnar for putting the team on his back, though. Maybe sometimes he's just ignoring open receivers he could throw for a touchdown, and he's running for a touchdown. Maybe Gunnar's just making it harder, being a hero, not to be selfish, but he's just, like, maybe that's just what Gunner's doing.
I'm fine criticizing this team. I'm fine criticizing the coordinators. But I'm actually really confident in this team right now. I think a bye week is exactly what we've needed. We've needed to get healthy most of all. And again, this is a young team, guys. This is a very young team. Imagine this team a year older, Gunnar Stockton coming back, and the weapons that we're going to have, even at the wide receiver position. We're going to lose some guys to the NFL, but you've got a Talon Taylor. You've got a C.J. Wiley, who's also going to get more reps now that Colby Young's gone. This team is going to get dangerous. So if we can start to make little jumps week to week, we are going to improve. And that starts with Florida, going into Texas, Mississippi State, and then Georgia Tech. And then, Keegan, before we start our pick six, I wanted to ask you, of these last notable games, don't worry about SEC or otherwise, but which team scares you the most of our remaining schedule?
It could go so many ways. For one, playing Mississippi State on the road is a little sketchy, and they have played.
Give me the toughest. Give me your the one that scares you the most to keep this Halloween theme. Which is the most scary?
I think it's got to be Texas. Not because of what they have on paper, but because of how they're surging and how they've grown so far. And they have a dangerous team. They have one of the best defenses in the country. And Arch Manning has deserved some of his critics at times, but he's putting it together when it matters most. So I do think Texas is still. I
like that. I was going to say, as I was thinking about this question in my head, we're pretty good at stopping the run, right? So as good as Georgia Tech is, they run the ball and their quarterback runs the ball, right? Florida, not good at running the ball, really not good offensively at all. Mississippi State has a high-octane offense with a quarterback that can sling it all over the field. But the way our offense is looking, their defense is not going to be able to keep up with what we're doing offensively either. Texas is the only team that I think defensively could slow us down. And although Arch Manning hasn't played well up to this point, he's probably going to be a good quarterback when it's all said and done. And they have weapons that could play up to their potential. So I think Texas is the biggest threat. I'm glad we have them at home, but all these games are going to be tough. I'm glad Texas is not as daunting as it looked a couple weeks ago. So we have that in our favor, but we're going to have to play every single one of these games. But we know what it's like in the SEC. This is new for Texas, not new for Georgia. So happy about that.
So with that, Chito, I think this Florida team obviously deserves our respect, but the front seven we're facing might be the best front seven that we will face, at least in the season. it's at least up for debate that is the case. So we got to come out slinging. Wild card, whatever, coach, what have you. Players play up for this Florida matchup. I grew up, couldn't stand Florida. They're one of the worst teams to lose to. And it's a lot of what Steve Spurrier did in the 90s that made it that way. He would rub our nose in it. And he, really lit a fire for the rivalry. So there was no diplomacy when it came to Georgia-Florida, no respect. And I think in all the great years that Mark Richt had, oftentimes it was Florida until we started dancing in the end zone with the whole team and whatnot that we'd lose to. So I still have a bone to pick with Florida. There's a reason on Dog Nation Daily they do the Gator Hater Updater. There's a reason that everyone in the state of Georgia, no matter what, will list Florida as one of either a North Georgia guy who thinks Tennessee is it, an Alabama, West Georgia guy thinking, it's Auburn or something. No matter what, where you are in the state, you'll list Florida. So huge game. I think the Dogs are going to come out, do what they need to do, but Florida will put it together. Billy Gonzalez, I think, is probably Florida's best coaching option just from what I'm hearing around the country. I don't know. In the new SEC, new NIL, CEO style, I think Billy Gonzalez might be it. Chito, where are you at? Do we have a closer matchup, more of a blowout? Can Billy Gonzalez do it for the Gators?
You showed a lot of love to the front seven, and then you kind of pooped on it with a 42-pointer from Georgia, but I'm not upset. So what it's going to come down to, I'm just really confident in this Georgia team currently. I think a bye week only helps them to grow a little bit, and I trust this coaching staff. The defense has been, it's funny to say, the defense has been the worst part of our team, and that's not Georgia's DNA. So I expect them to pick it up. And with Florida, just to be frank, man, they're inconsistent. They're undisciplined. They're gonna turn the ball over. They're gonna commit penalties. They're gonna blow assignments. As a Georgia team, you have to give them enough time to implode on their own, like Auburn did in the second half. To me, it's that simple. They will get in their own way. And I don't know why Lane Kiffin's out here tripping. If I was Lane Kiffin, I would have been at Florida a long time ago, but I digress. I'm gonna leave that alone. But I think Georgia comes away with the win. Neutral site in Jacksonville. Some damage destroyed in St. Simon's. Dogs on top, 33-16.
Hey, and I never got to go to St. Simon's, but the one thing I love seeing is just all the images of the random people dressed up in a very wide array of costumes, drinking, probably doing often things
Halloween
things they shouldn't
weekend,
do.
Frat Beach, Nats Landing, the whole. I've never actually even been to Jacksonville to the game. My whole experience of Georgia, Florida is in St. Simon's, so that's kind of all I know, my guy.
And legend has it, some Georgia fans have gone down there and just, they just decide to live down there. Never
It's a
left
great
that
place,
beach.
man. It's a great place. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey, absolutely. Well, this is an action-packed week for our Pick Six. I think the Georgia-Florida game always is going to have a special place in my heart, even more than any other rivalry, no matter how the team is doing. I think the Florida game really will, still. And I think it's because how competitive it's been played. Most of the time, even when Florida is having a bad season, they've played the Georgia game pretty competitive.
And vice versa. When they were dominant and we weren't the team, we were that B average team. You never know. Slip up, get caught slipping. It happens all the time, man. That's why we love college football.
Well, with that, Chito, brings us to our Pick Six. What games are you looking at this week?
Let's start with the top three here. We got Penn State traveling to number 1, Ohio State, Vandy at Texas. Vandy number 9. How weird is that to see Vandy ranked higher than Texas as the favorite? I'm not sure they're the favorite, but I'm picking them. And then South Carolina will be traveling to Ole Miss. So let's start with the first one. I wish Penn State was good this year because this is one of the few tests that Ohio State would have. I'm going to Ohio State here. I see no reason that Penn State pulls away with this one, and it's at home. We'll see how tough Ohio State is.
Yeah, Ohio State's, I feel like they got that. Like you said, if it were at Penn State, maybe they'd rally. But who knows? With all the – it's like on the one hand, there's the reality that teams are getting a little bit of an uptick in performance after coach firings. But on the other hand, it's like the season says that
there's
Ohio
a reason
State's
why the coaches have been
ass.
fired. You know what I mean?
Right,
so it's
right.
It's this toss. It's this wild card. So we'll see how it works out. So a little bit less of a wild card. Again, man, I keep feeling like Vandy's going to run out of steam, and this schedule that they have going down the stretch is going to be tough. But these guys are really putting it together, and they're just gaining confidence week to week to week. I think that they can beat Texas because they're better than Texas. It's not like any stretch or anything like that. Texas has not played well, even in their win last week, just barely won. I'm going to go Vandy here. It doesn't matter to me who wins this one, but give me the Commodores. Anchor down.
Anchor down. Yeah, I think this is going to be a shootout, and like this would be the game for Texas to put it together. But I like the Commodores, dude. Like Diego Pavia has shown the growth over the season. Like he has been on a great trajectory. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and the whole team looks good. Like Vanderbilt is playing complementary football like you need to see for it to have like a high level of confidence in the team. So yeah, give me Vandy in that one too.
And an upset I'd like to see, but Ole Miss at home. And we talked about this, man. I was watching Heather Dinich on SportsCenter, and they were like, Ole Miss, the committee loves Ole Miss. I told you losing to Georgia would not hurt them. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, but this is how it goes. I wish South Carolina could pull some of that magic that they had from last year, but they don't seem to be able to find it. So I'm going to go Ole Miss at home. They're ranked number 7. They're on a roll, even though they lost to Georgia. I think this is going to be a team that the playoff committee is going to love, and I think this is another opportunity for them to show it.
Yeah, South Carolina has been probably one of the most disappointing teams thus far, but they do have some guys that can put it together. They probably should have won the Alabama game. The students were ready to rush the field. I honestly almost feel for Shane Beamer. I know he doesn't like Kirby, but I kind of like Shane Beamer. So, yeah, but give me Ole Miss in a big one on that one.
We got another marquee one as well. We got Oklahoma traveling to Tennessee. Listen, Oklahoma has kind of gotten the short end of the stick. The quarterback that they had hand or finger surgery, so he has not been 100%, but I'm telling you, every week he's going to get closer. I think Oklahoma, if that quarterback's healthy enough, you've got the tie between Josh Heupel, who used to be at Oklahoma. He was the quarterback there when they won a national championship. I think Oklahoma goes on the road and beats Tennessee in Neyland and kind of puts themselves back in at least the conversation of the SEC. It may be too late for them, but I think they get this win with the familiarity between the two programs.
Dude, I don't see it happening. Like, for whatever reason, I think Oklahoma is a really solid team. Either way, something's got to give with these teams. I think that Tennessee is the more complete team, but, you know, kudos to Oklahoma showing the growth. I think Venables is a really good coach. And Mateer's a beast, so you might be right, but I got Tennessee. It's just, it's at home. Is Oklahoma and Mateer going to go in and do something better than Georgia did? Like, Tennessee had us in a dogfight, so
I think so. I think their defense is better than ours by a mile. I think it's one of the best defenses in the SEC. So yeah, I'm gonna give them a chance. I know it's asking a lot at Neyland, but I've been pretty good with these upsets, so we're gonna see.
Okay, well, if it weren't for Brett Venables, there would be no Clemson quote unquote dynasty. So he kind of knows what he's doing, so I'll give him that.
And then last two games that kind of looked interesting to me. You got number 23 USC traveling to Nebraska. That's Dylan Raiola territory, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard much about them, but I think they're 5-1, 6-1, something like that. So they're almost bowl eligible. So not a bad team. I just haven't heard a lot about them to get excited enough to think they'll beat a USC. Give me Lincoln Riley there. And then last but not least, and you can do your picks on both of them, we've got number 17 Cincinnati, a good program that Georgia's familiar with, traveling to number 24 Utah, a great program that most college football observers are familiar with. I'm going to go Cincinnati here. Utah's a good team. Not really sure what's going on out west. But I feel like Cincinnati's been rolling the past couple weeks. Utah just a little bit less so.
I think Utah holds steady. Maybe has a little bit of a resurgence in that game. But as far as Nebraska, just looking at their schedule now, if they got USC, UCLA, Penn State, and Iowa, 2 ranked games being USC and Iowa. I mean, before the season, I wouldn't have said this, but if they win out, dude, that's a playoff team. So even though they're currently unranked, mind you, they're only 6-2. And hey, if they win out, that's a potential playoff team. So we'll see what Dylan Raiola and the Cornhuskers can do. We all know Matt Rule. His name comes up anytime a big job opens up. He's a proven coach. He's done a good job. So yeah, it'll be an interesting game, but a lot of good games this weekend. It's good to be back. I'm going to do a live stream tonight, so most people will hear about that tomorrow. If you guys want to follow, I'll keep doing that on the Dogs Off the Leash Twitch. We're going to have some new articles up. We kind of needed a breather, but I'm back. Cheeto's back. And yeah, we're excited for the rest of the season.
And last but not least, for those of you who are in your fantasy leagues and getting ready for a playoff push, we have Thursday night football with Lamar Jackson returning to action against the Miami Dolphins, who, sorry Atlanta fans, embarrassed Atlanta in Atlanta. It must make y'all sick to have a good roster like that and to lose to literally the worst team in the NFL. So we'll see if it was a fluke. I think the Ravens are going to run all up and down them. They've had injuries, but make sure that you set your lineups. Make sure that you tune in because it's almost that time for a playoff push. Make sure that you guys also tap in with us wherever you get your podcasts. Keegan, I appreciate you, Dog Nation. Always a blast. Whether you check us out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, guys, you know what it is.
Off the leash.
Go Dogs and off the leash.
Do it for the dogs. Do it for the dogs. I do it for the dogs.